feedback. Based off of the feedback, we're recording, by the way. So if you don't want your mug on here, now's your chance to hide your video. But based off the feedback that you all have given us, now is a really good time for us to take market share. And so if you haven't noticed, we've been just pulsing on you guys the tools to go and take market share, right? We started with the bulletproof buyer, and how great was the bulletproof buyer? Like, it honestly, the feedback that we got from you guys was so fulfilling that the content that we're giving was able, to be translated into you guys going out there, implementing, taking market share, right? And then we talked about financial planners and how it was a simple layup, especially to combine the tactics of the bulletproof buyer along with Josh and Ryan's approach, and we could go on that forever. But today, this is going to be worth your price of admission, because Ryan Grant, who's been #1 in Orange County, consistently one of the top 250 originators in the country, sometimes in the top 100, and much higher than that, and just a guy that completely just makes our industry look good, is going to go through what that first realtor meeting looks like. And if you're anything like me, and I've said this a million times, it's like, I just need to see someone else do it. And the second I see someone else do it, I can take that and make it my own. We like to call it swipe and adapt, because it sounds better than stealing or plagiarism. So swipe and adapt is the language that we'll use here at Triibe. But it's going to be such a valuable session today. So congratulations. Also, a huge congratulations to Steven Ramirez. I just want to stop for a second. We were all in Originator Connect and Amplify, and we gave away 1 free year of coaching out in Vegas. And Steven Ramirez is the benefactor of that 1 free year of coaching. We all had a chance to talk to him for a little bit. Loved his energy. He's newer to the business, but Steven, welcome, man. We are so glad you're here for your first call.
Welcome, Steven.
And Sonny, his first call. Grady, his first call. And several of you were out at Originator Connect. It was good to connect with you in person. So welcome. So back to this. What we really hope is that you guys can see how Ryan does it, swipe, adapt those things that work for you. But this is quite possibly one of the best in the industry at just going out, taking market share. And today he's going to go through that first meeting that he goes through realtors and just pragmatically, methodically, and systematically tell you how that meeting goes. And so we're going to go away from our normal formula of talking about current topics and where rates are at. And if there's time at the end, we'll get to that. But we wanted to make this as meaningful as possible. I'll repeat this at the end, but we're out of cadence too because of Originator Connect. So especially for you newer students who are showing up here for the very first time, next week on Thursday, we have this same forum going, and normally there's a 2-week break so that you can take what we've given you here, implement, and then we can coach you on the fly during this Q&A. We'll only have 1 week. So the format of next week's meeting is our normal Q&A. So we expect you all to come with challenges, issues, questions, things that you want help with from some of the top originators in the company, in the country, and the best coaches on the planet, in my opinion, with these guys. They're just amazing people. So next week, for those of you that this is your first call, make sure you come to the call with issues, and don't be afraid to let us know what those issues are. And we're literally going to take the most urgent issue that you guys bring, and we're going to coach on the fly. And you'll get to hear different perspectives from Ryan Grant and Josh Mettle and Danny Horanyi and Chris Ledlie, who all have experienced whatever your issue is. I guarantee you, whether it is, hey, I don't get to spend enough time with my wife and kids because I'm grinding so hard at work to build this business, to, hey, this realtor told me to pound sand when I said this, and how can I turn that around, right? It doesn't matter what the issue is. We're here and we want to help you succeed in business and thrive, absolutely live the richest, most abundant life that you can. Chris, Danny, Ryan, did I miss anything? I was trying to be succinct and get it all in, and anything to add before Ryan takes off here?
I think we're ready to roll.
Right on. All right, RG, thanks so much, man, for being so abundant and just sharing exactly what your what your process is. So many of us in this industry, when we have a good idea, we just want to hide it and keep it so that if our competition doesn't get a hold of it, which is just such a scarcity mentality. It's the opposite of how you operate. So I just wanted to express my gratitude to you this morning for being an amazing example for all of us and being so willing to share. I'm really excited about what you're going to share today. So thanks, man.
Yeah, happy to be here. So I'm going to go through the exact process I take a new prospective real estate partner through. So Mark is going to be my realtor stand-in, and we're going to assume that I got put in touch with Mark in any capacity. I could have been referred to him by another realtor, could have been a listing agent on a deal, but we're going to assume he doesn't know much about our group, like the Insight team or my group. So we'll walk through that. If you guys have questions, please let us know, and feel free to add in anything else for anybody else in the group here. So Mark, thanks for coming in today.
Absolutely, Brian. I've heard nothing but great things about you and your group. I'm a little pressed for time, but I do want to take the time to talk to you. I've heard a lot of great things about you.
Yeah, well, I appreciate it. I know we have about an hour. Is that going to be kind of your time frame there?
I may have to go just a little bit early. I'm so sorry.
No problem.
But I may have to go a little early.
We'll get as much in as we can.
Okay.
So the reason why I wanted to speak with you today is, we are not looking to be everything to everyone. I've tried that early in my career, and that didn't work all that well. We just want to be the right things to the right people. And, basically by following your career and looking at your business and looking at your online profile and your brand, it seems like we have a lot of synergies. So I wanted to explore what that may look like. But first, I'd love to learn just a little bit more about your business. What are you focused on right now? What's your vision for the next 5 to 10 years? What does your team structure look like? I'm not going to make Mark go through that right now, but you need to get that information first. If you go into a realtor meeting and you just start talking forever, they need to engage. So you have to ask them questions about their business. And then, you kind of follow up with, okay, great. Well, thanks for that, Mark.
Wait, Brian, can I stop you just to ask a quick question there? How many times when you ask what their vision is for the next 5 years, what their team structure looks like, and what their focus is, how many times are you impressed that they know the answers to those 3 questions?
It's been about 1.5 times.
Okay, that's my experience too. So guys, that is highlight number 1. If you're brave enough to ask those questions, out of 100, 1 person will hit them on point. Continue.
But one thing to add to that though, don't minimize the importance of it, because you will pick up a nugget or 2 or 3 or 4 that you will be able to insert a pain point or a hot button in later points in the conversation, which is, I think, where Ryan's going to go with this.
And don't be condescending because they don't know the answer either. You honor them, obviously, and I'm sure that's where Brian will go. Sorry.
I think that would go without saying, but try not to be condescending in your meeting. So, Mark, what has been your experience with lenders in your career? Do you have what you would consider an actual lending partner, or do you feel like you have resources to refer your clients if they need loans? And do you know the difference?
Yeah, I feel like I have an actual partner. I've got a really good, personal relationship with my lender, and we trust one another implicitly. And they've literally never let me down. Every, single time they said something could be done, it could be done. And, they get back to my clients right away, which is important to me. And so I would say that I'm fortunate, to have the lending partner that I do. I certainly consider them an extension of my business.
That's great. I don't often get that feedback, but I'm glad that's the situation you have. Now, has anyone from a lending perspective ever helped you beyond just closing those transactions well, doing what they say they're going to do, communicating at a high level and having a good relationship? Has anybody ever really helped you with up-leveling your client experience or your brand? Or has anybody helped you actually grow your business and made that commitment that they're going to take you from where you are today to where you want to go, or help convert a lot of your clients or lead aggregate or generate new business alongside of you? Or is it really just more of the getting the deals done, doing it well, communicating well, and having a good relationship?
Yeah. to be honest, Ryan, you said a lot of things in there. And, you know, I feel like some of those things, like, you know, teaching us different ways to go and get new clients, you know, that getting the new clients are on our own, but I would say probably 90% getting the loans done, and maybe 10%, maybe as little as 5% on new client acquisition or growing the business. It's probably been my experience.
Got it. Okay, good. Well, what I want to show you today is whenever we look at partnering with a new real estate professional, and the goal by the end of this meeting is for you to figure out if you think that we would be that good partner or not. We don't just want to close your loans. We kind of have that part down, right? We close loans at a high level. We close them fast. We have great service. But you know, there's three areas of your business that I want to help focus on. One is the conversion of your business, right? So if you talk to 100 prospective buyers or sellers, if you're converting, call it 20 of those, we want to get that to 30 or 40. So we're going to show you how we're going to be more of a client converter for you and your team, as opposed to just a lender who gets deals done for people who already know they want to do them. Next is we want to help you really up level your already existing client experience and your brand. So we're going to show you how by partnering with us, your clients will see a differentiated level of service and experience, which will then take yours and our brands to a whole new level. And then lastly, I want to help you understand, I think where most lenders drop the ball is growth. We wouldn't honestly be here if we didn't think we could help you grow your business. And in doing so, you know, selfishly, we grow ours as well. So I want to talk to you about how we can take your business from where it is today to, based upon kind of your vision and what you shared with me, to where that can be. So we'll go through those three areas. Any questions on any of those?
I want to point something out. It's really important. Did you guys hear? And by doing so selfishly, we're also helping ourselves. The realtor already, and I was trying to like get into my realtor character mode. Yep. The realtor already is like, hey, bro, I know that something's in it for you. Ryan answered that question and diffused me immediately. It was like, hey, if I grow your business, I'm growing mine. And that's all I care about, which is a great approach. I just want to make sure you picked up on that. No, no questions, Ryan. It all seems crystal clear. Whoa, good. Somebody else joined and Ryan moved from over here to up here. So I'm gonna look in a different direction now.
Okay, so Mark, first thing I want to show you is from a conversion perspective, how we help our clients. So I'm gonna share my screen here. So Mark, how many times over the past, what's up?
I was seeing an outline, but now I see bulletproof buyer.
Yeah. So how many times over the past, I don't know, 6 to 12 months have you had home buyers that you've heard say, well, we're not going to buy, now's not the right time, the market's going to crash, I'm going to, you know, rent for another year, save money. You know, how many times have you and your team heard that?
It's brutal, man. Hundreds for sure. It is like, it's really difficult out there. 100%.
Now, when that happens, let's say you send a client to your lender or any lender for that matter, and they have a pre-approval. If they decide not to buy, where do you place that fault? Like where do you feel like the ball was dropped if somebody makes an emotional decision about real estate?
I think, you know, I don't really assign blame, but I think when, you know, you said that it would be on the client, you know, that's probably like where I would put it.
Yeah, and so the majority of the time, that's where both the realtor and the lender place blame. Like, okay, well, Danny was pre-approved and they didn't end up buying a house. I can't believe they didn't know how to do it. I mean, that's their loss. And in reality, we need to turn that lens around, right? It's our fault. It's you as the agent and me as the lender. If you are helping them find the home and I'm helping them, you know, with the financing, our job is not just to pre-approve someone and then fund the loan. Our job is to remove that anxiety, that fear, and that uncertainty around housing and replace it with excitement and confidence and motivation. And we do that in a very strategic manner, right? And so when we meet with our clients, you know, we always have to go through what's happening with the market. Now, most of you guys have seen this bulletproof buyer presentation, so I'm not going to go through it fully in depth, but we have to go through a comprehensive upfront market analysis so they understand what's happening. And Mark, if you're not aware, this is what your clients are seeing in headlines. right? If they just type in housing market into a Google search, this is what they're coming up with. And unfortunately, Mark, you and your team are putting way too much weight on your shoulders to be able to get someone to convert to be an actual homeowner, right? Your job is hard enough finding them the diamond in the rough home when in a very limited inventory market. We need to be the ones to remove the uncertainty and replace it with confidence and excitement and motivation. So we're going to show them, and I know you're pressed for time, Mark, so I'm not going to take you through this whole presentation now, but we're going to show them all these market statistics so they really understand, okay, this real estate market is not going anywhere but up, right? For the next 22 years, based on birth rates and inventory and new home builds, like simple economic supply and demand, right? Sorry, we gotta mute somebody there. So we're going to really dive into what makes the person think that the market might pull back. And what you'll find is a much more confident buyer because of the fact they know the market is going to be in a healthy situation.
Ryan, I'm going to stop you for just 1 second. Grady, I know you're new to the call. Sonny, I know this is your first call, but you and I went through this. The slides that Ryan just rolled through, because so many of you have already seen it and have been a Triibe member, it takes about 8 minutes to go through. And whether you're talking to a realtor who thinks they're very well informed or a client, it is, in my opinion, one of the most important things you can do. Krista has the recorded presentation of how we go through this. And so we're not going to be super duplicative in Ryan's presentation today because we really want to know his process. But I highly recommend that you at least go through and watch Josh present on those slides. I think Ryan presented on those slides so that you know how to go through that. I've got it down to, like I said, about 8 minutes every time now. And it is the #1 thing that keeps people enrolled. And so that's what Ryan is referring to by taking people through that. And if Ryan was in his presentation, he'd take me through each slide and just update me on the market. Go ahead, Ryan.
Yeah. So Mark, that's the first hurdle that we have to overcome, right? Is we have to get people comfortable with what the real estate market is doing and get them to understand why they need to get on the train now. Otherwise, they're going to miss it altogether.
Ryan, that information is so compelling. Like, I know people right now that like need to see that information. Like, I can't believe that it's that compelling.
And one of the things I'd love to do, Mark, is, in a later meeting, have your entire team come to the presentation. We can actually do the Bulletproof Buyer presentation to help them, because what I found is it does two things. One is it gives them the information, education they need to go share that information. But another is it gets them highly motivated. And right now, a lot of real estate agents, their motivation level is a little bit low because they've been beating their head against the wall for the last 6 to 12 months trying to get buyers into homes. And so this will help them, kind of find a reignited passion to go out and talk to homeowners and prospective homeowners.
So true. I would love for you I'd love for my whole team to see this for sure.
Yeah. Somebody want to monitor the chat for me too? If someone just cut me off if someone has a question. Next thing is really understanding, helping people know the difference between what they can do and what they should do. Now, no offense, but you likely have most of your buyers, Mark, that are out in the marketplace with a pre-approval letter that lets them know they can buy a home. But what I would challenge you to do is really go figure out how many of those buyers that you and your team are working with know if they actually should buy one. Do you understand the difference?
Yeah, I think so. Like, we don't want somebody buying a home if they truly can't afford it, right?
Well, no, yeah, I mean, that's the obvious one, right? If they can't afford it, they definitely should not. But the crux is a lot of people can afford it. They have a pre-approval letter that says they can't afford it, but they still don't actually know why they should do it because the new payment scares them. So when you hear, I'm not ready, it's not the right time, I'm going to sell, or I'm going to wait and buy something later and the market's going to crash, that's just another language for your client saying, hey, I know I can because I have a letter that tells me I can, but I definitely don't think that I should, so I'm not going to. Does that land for you?
Yeah, I would like you to, take me through it the way you would one of those buyers so that I could get clarity around it, but I understand what you're saying. Sure.
Yeah, so I'll walk you through it here. Let's assume that Danny is our client here. And right now, Danny's pre-approved to buy a $700,000 condo with 5% down. He went online or he talked to a lender and he got a pre-approval letter and got that information. And then right now he's paying $2,500 a month in rent. Problem is he's not looking at apples to apples, right? If he's comparing his rent versus his new home, like his new home that he's going to purchase, he's comparing where he doesn't want to live versus where he does. So just so you know, Mark, whenever we meet with a client, one of the first things we say, and I'll show you this in our presentation, is that I'd say, Danny, I want you to know we're not here today to talk you into buying a home, right? We're not here to pre-approve you and tell you all the great reasons why you should do this. The reason we're here today is I want you to have all the information and education you need to confidently make a good decision at the end of this. And if you confidently decide that it's the right time to buy a home, we'll help you do that. And if you don't, and it doesn't look like a good time, or it doesn't look like a financially viable model, then we'll just develop a plan and a strategy and a timeline to get you there at some point. So what we do, Mark, is we disarm their sales radar, right? They're not gonna come in thinking, oh, there's guys just trying to make money. And so when we do that, I'm going to say, Danny, let's assume that you don't buy a home. That's a real possibility, right? Inventory challenges, prices are going up. You could have some fear around your payment. If you don't, could you happily and comfortably stay in your current rental for the next 5+ years? And then Danny's likely going to say no, right? So he's going to tell me, okay, well, how much would you pay to rent your next home, right? The home that you would go to if you don't buy. And he's going to say, oh, maybe like $500 more per month. So whatever he says, we put that number in there. And I'm going to let Danny know, hey, when you buy a home, the mortgage payment stays stagnant, right? If anything, it could go down if rates come down. But when you rent a home, obviously rental rates go up every year likely. What do you expect your rent to rise by every year? And he's not going to have thought through that, right? So if he doesn't know, we're just going to pull it up, right? So we'll literally just type in, you can type in any market, you can see the numbers here. This is 5%, this is 7%. So I'm just going to use a 5% number. So I'm going to show Danny that over the next 5 years, he's going to pay $3,750 in rent. And he would have never gotten there on his own. We had to take him through that process.
Absolutely, yeah.
And on average, we're going to show Danny how he's paying $3,375, and that's the number he should compare. Does that make sense to you, Mark? And have you ever seen any lender go through that?
I love it. Obviously I've seen rent versus buy, but I've never seen the approach about like, can you stay in this home for the next 5 years?
Yeah.
And then talking about what rents are likely to go up. So that part is new, obviously.
Yeah. So the key is just to help them get in the right frame of mind to compare apples versus apples.
Yeah.
And then we want to show them the differences, right? Because he's going to go online or he's going to talk to a lender, and that lender is going to say, here's your pre-approval letter. You can buy this home. Here's your monthly payment. And keep in mind, yeah, it's $3,935, right? Almost $4,000. So keep in mind all the headlines he just saw when he wrote housing market. And now his payment's going up almost $1,500 a month. Does anybody think Danny is super excited and happy and confident to go buy a house?
Not when you steer the conversation that way, Ryan.
But Mark, this is what's happening to your clients, and your buyer's agents on your teams are not equipped to handle it. And so when people are making bad decisions not to buy homes, they're emotional decisions, they're uneducated ones.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, most lenders just don't do this, right? They just, here's your application, give me your documents, we're going to look it over, and here you go, here's your pre-approval letter. Let me know when you find a house, we'll be ready. Mm-hmm. And they assume that the client is going to have this information, and I promise you they aren't. And one of the things I'd love for you to do is just test this theory out, right? So you or somebody on your team, whoever's been working with a buyer the longest, and the buyer hasn't been writing offers, or they've just been kind of in and out, and they haven't really shown seriousness, but they're pre-approved, have that client talk to us and watch what the outcome difference is, right? And get feedback from that client, because this is what you need to help people make smart decisions in real estate. So
Ryan, let me ask you something. Obviously rates are low. I know how busy you guys are. How do you have the time, to go this in depth with every single client?
That's a great question. So, and everybody, your answer is going to be different depending on the size of your team. So I would say, Mark, we are very clear here on the Insight team as to what the highest and best uses of our activity are. And unfortunately, your lender, do they have a team of people? Do they have other mortgage professionals they work with, or is it just kind of like a one-man show?
Yeah, he's got a production partner that that helps them out.
Got it. So even him and his production partner are going to find a capacity at some point, right? And they're likely there right now. If it's just one person and one production partner, they have to take shortcuts to help the number of families that they're supposed to help, whether they want to help to be successful. They have to shortcut it. And unfortunately, what they're doing is they're shortcutting the consumer experience and the educational process, which you may not realize the importance of it, but it's also shortcutting the success of your team. So in order to deliver this every time, we do about a 20 to 30 minute initial dreams and goals call. We don't just send the application like most lenders do. And we really get good information to help a client. We spend 45 minutes to an hour with the client in this consultation in the same format that I'm meeting you right now, either in person or via Zoom, and they see my screen. And yes, it takes time, but it's the only thing that our mortgage advisors do, right? They have production partners that help with lead management. They have loan coordinators that help take the file all the way through to closing. And so we've really broken it down to where each person does the thing that makes the most impact in the client's life. And we've scaled it, right? So on my team, there's 5 different pods that can do that. So you refer it to one place and you know that the same repetition happens each time, regardless of who's handling it.
So how are you paying for that? Are my clients going to get higher interest rates because you have all this overhead and team structure?
No, it's a great question. So most mortgage companies, when it comes to their rates and costs, we pretty much sell all the same rates and fees. There's some that have decent markups. There's some that are a little bit more of a discount lender. But what we've done is we've just created basically one unit, but we've created it 4 or 5 times, right? So not everybody gets paid on every loan. So file comes in, just that one loan officer and his team earn the revenue on that transaction. So we can keep our costs extremely low. And to be honest, as you go through this, and as I show you the rest of this, you'll find you're going to ask yourself that question a lot. Like, how can you possibly do all these things for our clients and for us and still be competitive? And the simple answer is we don't have Super Bowl commercials, right? We don't have, ads on the internet that we're paying millions of dollars for. All of our business comes from past client referrals and business partner referrals like yourself, because everybody realizes that getting a mortgage in this manner is the right way to do it. And so we just take the same marketing dollars that most companies spend to go find new clients, and we reinvest it back into our client experience and the long-term value we give to our clients. So it's kind of like, have you ever heard of the Zappos model of advertising?
Yes.
So,
I have heard of it.
Yeah. So Zappos will, something's supposed to be like there 4 days from now, but they'll do next day shipping just for a phenomenal client experience. And normally it would show up on the shipping ledger of the P&L, but in reality, it's a marketing cost, right? Because it created a better client experience. We're doing the same exact thing.
Ryan, pause 1 second. Guys, did you see what Ryan just did? So this is what's going to happen every time in your meeting. Your realtor does not want to look dumb. So when he said the Zappos thing, I knew who Zappos was. I knew something about their CEO. I knew their culture was great. But Ryan was like, yeah, even though I said yes, he told me about the Zappos experience. Did you guys catch that? Yes or no? Yes? Great move, Ryan. That's really important, right? That even though they act like they know what's going on, which even in this rent versus buy, I might have said, oh yeah, like my lender does this. Ryan took me through it anyway, right? So make sure that if you haven't read the Challenger Sale, which, Dave Savage is very big on, Ryan did that flawlessly. And there's little things that he does like that I wanna just point out that he didn't say, okay, and skip it, right? Which is what a lot of us do, because it might be a difficult conversation. But he told me about it anyway. So I just wanted to point that out. Keep going, Ryan.
Yeah. So then I'm just going to show kind of the next slide here. So Mark, we have to show people side-by-side comparisons. When they see the after-tax net savings and they realize they're only paying $291 more per month than they pay to rent that property, then the wheels start turning differently. And then I'm going to show them the fact that they're paying a principal payment, whereas over here they pay none, which means that they're really about $800 a month ahead by owning this home.
Wow.
And so that's not going to be enough though, because people need to see the future and they won't see it themselves. So this is what we show them here. So we're just going to show a side-by-side comparison and say, look, Danny, over the next 5 years, you're going to pay over $200,000 for your landlord with zero equity and zero tax savings. And Mark, if your clients aren't extremely motivated by this, then nothing's going to motivate them. But people have a very visceral response to being the person on the left. Like they don't want to be that person. And so alternatively, we would show them and say, look, Danny, if you buy that $700,000 house and we just get a 4% price appreciation, which is less than half of what's expected, that home grows to be worth $854,000. You pay the mortgage down to $593 just by organically making payments. You'd have $260,000 in wealth versus zero, all while paying about $290 more in a month versus your rental. So Mark, unfortunately, I don't think your clients are going through this, which is why you're having that experience, which is why your buyers are not extremely motivated to go buy homes, right? That the same person can look at the same mortgage payment, and before our meeting, they'll be afraid and nervous and don't think they should. After our meeting, they'll think it's financially irresponsible not to buy that home, same monthly payment. Does that make sense?
Completely. Yeah, I can 100% see, like when you see it visually, negative 202 versus a positive 200, how that would like really, I mean, candidly, it's eye-opening to me. And I love it. Like I said, there's just so many buyers I have right now that need to see this info. I feel like they're out of energy and like, you know, they're just giving up. And so this is really helpful. Thanks, Ryan.
Yeah. So we obviously want to help them with that. Next thing, you know, so when it comes to conversion, Mark, that's where you're going to see a massive conversion from your clients. Like we not only want to help you in your growth and in your brand and your experience, but we want to help buyers and sellers make smart, educated decisions about real estate. And having us as a partner, you'll know that that's going to happen time in and time out. And so if someone decides not to buy a home, we can rest assured that they're making that decision on an educated basis. We had a client a realtor partner who we just started working with, and they had a client that just bought a home in July of last year. That same client was in contract on a property in April of 2020, and they canceled because they were afraid and didn't know if they should do that or not. They bought a very similar home, square footage, bedroom, bathroom in the market for 12% more than they could have bought it, 13 months prior. And they're a newer partner. I didn't want to upset them, but I just said, look, unfortunately, I think that's your fault. And they were taken aback. And I said, I mean, you and whatever lender they were working with, you allowed them to make an emotional decision about real estate, not a logical decision based on education and all, having all the tools to do that. And now that's not really your fault, right? Because you didn't necessarily know you needed that. But when you think of a lending partner, that's what you need on your team, because that's gonna be the person that has people thanking and praising you when they look back and realize they made a good decision a year ago as opposed to a bad decision a year ago. Does that make sense?
Yeah, completely, man. Yeah.
Cool. So I want to pivot now to, let me see here. Sorry, I'm getting some messages here. I want to pivot now to how we help you with the client experience. So no doubt you have a great client experience as it is now. However, the client experience that we're going to take your clients through will up-level that substantially. One question, do you know, like whenever you refer a client to your lending partner, do you know exactly what happens step by step from the time that you make that referral to 30 years after the person buys that home?
I have sat in, with clients in person and watched, all the way through the closing of the loan, but there's no, like, I have no idea what happens after the closing of the loan.
Got it. So I'm going to walk you through our experience real fast so you can understand what that looks like. So when you refer a client to us, and we'll talk about this in our follow-up meeting, which is kind of more of a business partnership planning meeting, but we do an initial 20 to 30 minute, what we call a dreams and goals call. And the point of that call is to really understand as much as we can about that client, we call it collecting the financial puzzle pieces. And then our job from there is to put those pieces together and present it to them in this type of presentation. And so most clients don't get any of that. They get an application sent to them, They send in documents, they get a pre-approval letter, and then they're out, right? They get very little education, analysis, or planning. It's the most important part of what a client can do in the home buying or home selling process. And I want you to know this is not just for home buyers. A lot of our agents will refer us their potential listings because we do what's called a financial transition plan, and we help them transition from one home to the next. So you can refer us to not only prospective buyers, but prospective sellers, so we can help them figure out how to get from one home to the next. So we're going to meet with them in the same format. They're going to see the screen here, same way you are, and we'll walk through it. And one of the first things we do is we talk about, we know everything about them. So we talk about us, we talk about our team. And then I mention our goal, which I talked to you earlier, right? Which is not to convince you to buy a home, it's to give you information, education, help you make a decision. And then we go through all these questions, like why do you want to move now or make a change? What questions or concerns do you have about buying a home? And there's a lot. A lot of times they'll kind of look around and make sure the realtor's not in the room and be like, you think it's a good time to buy a house? And they really see us as kind of a disinterested financial third party. And so I'll share my personal story about when I bought my home in August of 2006 and it immediately went down in value. I was $300,000 underwater, but today, through keeping it and holding it, I have an amazing rental property that cash flow positive and was able to buy another home. And so what we need to do is we need to story sell and remove fear and concerns and any potential myths or lack of information they may have about the market. We go through timelines. That way you're not wasting time showing people properties that aren't ready to buy it. We want to make sure we know how to serve them at a high level. And then we start asking them if they feel confident in, managing their mortgage as they move forward. And we'll talk about that here in a little bit. So we get into 3 ways in which we help a client, which is before, during, and after. Before is this process. During is our client experience and our speed and our efficiency. And then post-closing is actually the most important. And Mark, what's happened is that as we've worked with our real estate partners, this becomes their value proposition as well. So right now, unfortunately, most real estate agents only focus on talking about how they're helping people during the period, like during the home search and home closing phase. But there's a lot that you need to help your clients with before they go through that. And the most important part of how you're going to help your clients moving forward is the after part. So we'll talk through those things. So the first thing we do is we make sure that we go through suitability, right? Making sure the mortgage is correct for them, the right type of mortgage, that we let them know all mortgages are different and why. And then we're going to get into emergency funds, liquidity, non-preferred debt, and retirement funds. What this does is it creates a high level of trust because no lenders talk about this. None of these things are actually necessary to qualify for a mortgage or to be approved, but they're incredibly necessary to help somebody plan to become a successful homeowner. And so one of the things you'll find is after, when we get done with a meeting and you get feedback from your clients, you should hear the term, that was way different. They asked questions nobody else did. It seemed that they really cared about me more long-term. And that's a direct reflection and impact on you and your team's business and your brand as well. So then we do the analysis, and that was what I just showed you earlier, right? How we break down somebody's situation and we show them multiple different financing options. And then we're going to get into our competitive advantage. So this is how we help people really stand out in a challenging marketplace. So we're going to fully underwrite their loan. Does your lender do all fully underwritten TBD approvals, or are you writing offers that have loan contingencies?
Neither. I think they just pre-approve it, and if they feel really good about it, we're removing the contingency. And if it's hairy, then we'll have a contingency in the contract. That's how we're operating currently.
Okay. Well, there's 2 things that we're going to do that will help you here. One is we try and fully underwrite every single loan that we can in advance of them writing an offer. That way you can write a 15-day closing time frame. You can remove the loan contingency altogether, and they'll look very similar to a cash offer. And they'll have a high level of confidence and motivation because they have kind of a unfair competitive advantage versus the marketplace.
Wow.
Yeah, so if that's not happening,
a 15-day close with no contingencies would definitely help in some of these offers. Like any competitive advantage. Can you really close a jumbo loan in 15 days?
A jumbo may be a little bit different, right? So I'm talking mainly about conforming. When we get into the jumbo space, we might be looking at 15 to 21, depending upon the complexity of the file. But yes, we definitely can.
Still great. 21 days.
And I hope you don't take offense to this, but having people write offers in this market that are standard closing timeframes and have loan contingencies is kind of like we're the people with the magnifying glass and the buyer is the ant, and we're just kind of torturing them as they're out there looking for homes. Because they're not going to get an offer accepted. They're not going to, if they do, they're going to have to pay way more than anybody else because that's the only way they can stand out. So we really want to help them do that. And then we also have what's called I'll kind of show you this here, an appraisal gap strategy. Have you ever heard about the appraisal gap strategy?
No.
So have you been dealing with low appraisals at all?
Yeah, numerous.
So not only
both sides, the listing side and the buying side.
Yeah. So not only can we help you overcome gaps in appraised price versus purchase price.
Because again, we've covered this with almost everyone.
Yep.
We'll come back to this appraisal gap strategy rather than you explaining it. But I will say, and I'm sorry to disrupt your flow, but
no worries.
You guys, if you're not using this appraisal gap strategy, both on the buy side and with the listing side, you're absolutely missing out on one of the best tools to convert listing agents to get offers accepted. There are several of you in here who have told me about sending an actual slide, Eric Bible, to the listing side and getting offers accepted just on this appraisal gap strategy. So if you don't know how to do this, or you want to pragmatically go through this, again, it's in the recording that Krista said that she'll send out on the Bulletproof Buyer. But I wanna try to leave a little time that we can ask questions and debrief on this a little bit.
Yeah, well said. So then we use that. So really, Mark, what you're doing is, because the client is so confident in the appraisal gap strategy and the loan is fully underwritten, you have a 15-day close with no loan contingency, no appraisal contingency, a 10-day inspection contingency just to make sure the home is not going to fall apart. And you have the exact same buyer profile as an all cash offer. And then we call the listing agent every single time and explain how we've set it up, why we structured it this way. We ask the listing agent, what's important to the seller, right? Is it closing quick? Is it not closing? I mean, if they need more time, we'd be happy to talk with our client about a rent back. Is it speed? Is it risk? Right? And so not every agent does that, but we do. And oftentimes they'll share more with us than they would with the agent. And so we can kind of be an insider to help make sure we're getting the right information there.
Guys, that was gold. If you didn't pick up on that phrase, a lot of times they'll share more with us than they will with the agent. Make sure you're using that line. It will open doors that you never thought possible.
Yeah. So at this point, if the client does not want to go through that, Mark, they don't want to go through the full underwritten approval and they don't want to do it, like, we may not have a highly motivated buyer, and then we just know we need more work to do. But imagine somebody knowing that they can have a golden ticket when going to shop for homes and not wanting it, right? That means that you may want to temper the amount of time you're spending with them as you're showing them properties. So we want, as a partner to you, we want to protect your time and your focus to really help people that are bought in and motivated. So we go through common hangups to make sure that, if you ever heard a lender say, well, the client did this, that's not the client's fault, it's the lender's fault, right? So we touch on this multiple times. We have videos throughout the process that make sure that these things don't happen. And then we get into our synergy, right? We always talk to the client about, hey, if you work with Mark and I, X happens. If you work with another realtor, well, then a lot of things may not happen, not only now, but in the future. So
I love that.
You'll find that we always take a team approach to everything we do. All of our marketing is co-branded. All of the emails that go out are co-branded. So you'll find that the client will always see us as a team as opposed to a lender and a realtor. And then, Mark, let me ask you a question. What is the most stressful time in a client's experience buying a home?
Like from the time the contract is accepted until loan approval.
Yeah, or even up to that point. From the first time you start talking to them until the time that, a couple days after closing.
Oh, that was my answer. Like in that period between when their offer gets accepted and when their loan gets approved. I think that's.
Oh, got it. Okay.
Sorry.
Got it.
Am I right or am I wrong?
It's definitely a stressful time, but we've actually analyzed this, and the most anxiety-ridden stressful time is right when a person's offer gets accepted.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Because think about it, right? They may have paid a lot more for that house than they wanted to. Maybe their payment's higher than they wanted it to. Maybe that home isn't the perfect home and they had to kind of settle for it because there's not a lot of homes in the market. So there's buyer remorse swirling around. And then you have, here comes all the onslaught of escrow needing everything signed, right? We need $500 for an appraisal in case the home comes in low. you need to wire a large sum of money to a place where you don't know if it's going to come back. Oh, and then here comes the lender with 70 pages of documents you need to sign, and sign them quickly so we can order the appraisal. And so there's a million things happening in the first couple of days after an offer gets accepted, and they're not even really bought in on the fact that this makes sense, right? Because they may have had to, sacrifice on a few things that it wasn't their perfect home. And so whenever people tell me that they have great customer service, but they don't have a very succinct contract meeting process, I always kind of chuckle, because at the most anxiety and stressful ridden time, we just throw a bunch of stuff at the client and say, hope you know what you're doing. So our team has realized that is the time that we need to reach out and put our arms around them the most. So within 24 hours of a time an offer gets accepted, that client knows that they're going to be back with us, and we're going to do a contract meeting. And we're going to go over market analysis on whether we should lock or float the rate so they feel like they're a part of that process. We're going to go over down payment analysis to make, maybe the home's turnkey, maybe it needs work, so we can update that. We're going to make sure we pick the right product selection, short-term and long-term. We're going to tell them how we're going to protect their money in escrow. We're going to go through the entire timeline of the process and let them know what's happening and when. And then we're going to help them get their insurance in place. And what we found is we've had clients that have, one client actually said, I've bought and sold like 6 homes in the last 12 years, and no one's ever done this. This is incredibly helpful. Why doesn't everyone do this?
Yeah, it's actually how I'm feeling right now. Guys, we have about 12 minutes left. And I don't know about you, but my mind is already blown. Like I'm sure that a lot of you, are feeling like, holy cow, this is a lot. How do I, get to this point? And if you are, don't worry, we'll help you, whether you're a single person or you've got a giant team. But man, can you feel the difference in, hey, Danny, I'd like to take you to a cup of coffee to show you how I can help your business, versus an hour long. And by the way, I've been using that line for 20 years, until very recently. Can you feel how different this is and how much value it provides to the realtor? Ryan, we've got like 10 minutes left here. I'd love to leave about 5 minutes. And I know you have a tremendous amount of material to cover. Can you hit highlights for us, or should we schedule another Q&A?
No, I'll hit the highlights
to get through it. Okay, cool, bud.
Yeah. So we're gonna skip that for a second. We talk about our experience. We want people to go look at our reviews online, which solidifies that. We talk about our grant team wishes, which is our charitable donation portion of it. But then we get into post-closing, and this is when I move into growth. So I'm gonna say, so at this point, we've shown you how we're going to motivate more of your clients to help you with conversion. We've shown you our consumer experience, so you understand, and I didn't talk about this, but our gifting process, when our clients get gifts, at what points, why they get them. So our client experience will up-level your brand. And then what I believe is the most important thing, and why over 75% of our clients choose us, is our commitment to helping them post-closing. Now, Mark, what value do you add to your clients after the transaction closes? Not what marketing do you send to them or what events do you invite them to, but how are you actually moving the needle in their real estate and financial life after the transaction closes?
Well, yeah, kind of like you said, I do events, and I try, like with certain people, if I see a deal in real estate and I know that they have an appetite, I'll of course, reach out to that group, to let them know if I think it's a good investment. I would say that's how I provide value. Got it.
Well, that's actually better than most, Mark. Most people don't really do that, right? So you're ahead of the game there. But our commitment is that we're not just going to help someone buy a home, because if we do, they'll just own a home. But what we do is we help commit to make them a successful homeowner long-term. So Mark, every single one of your clients and every single one of your prospects is going to get all 8 of these services. And we have a value proposition, and I say we, my team and your team now, that will make it nearly impossible for somebody not to choose us. So, I know we don't have a ton of time left, but guys, at this point, some of you may know about Art of Homeownership, some of you may not. This Art of Homeownership is kind of a sister company, and we use them. We show them the home concierge service, right? We'll walk them through this and show them exactly what their clients see when they get the home concierge. And one of my favorite things to say is, Mark, imagine telling your clients that you're not only going to sell them a property, but you're going to proactively help them keep their home in great shape and increase that home's value over time. Have you ever made that commitment, or have you ever heard another realtor make that commitment?
No.
Well, that's something that's incredibly important because the Trulia study shows that 63% of millennials and 42% of every homeowner has major regrets after they buy a home. One of the most important being they underestimated home maintenance and home upkeep and home renovations. And so we can solve that problem to make sure that your clients aren't part of that statistic. Next is we're going to show, on a monthly basis, they're going to get the Real Estate Wealth Digest. And not only does this help them in all areas, but we've sent 1,500 of these out in the last 30 days, and we've had 1,134 opens.
Holy
I'm not
cow.
sure if you're aware, Mark, but the average email open rate on a real estate or mortgage related email is 6%.
Wow.
And it just goes to show you, here's 7 minutes ago, 10 minutes ago, 13 minutes ago. So just in the last 30 minutes, we've had all these clients looking at it. And by the way, guess who's calling Stephen Bartow today? Right? And imagine Stephen Bartow is your client. Would you want to know that he's viewing homes, viewing markets, and clicking on listings? Like, would you want to know he's doing those things?
Holy cow, it's unbelievable. How do you know that?
Ryan, is that integrated with the HomeBot, that art of home ownership? And I got to say, that's the most impressive presentation I've ever seen in my life.
Thank you.
Flat out.
It is.
That
It
is
is
by
integrated.
far the best presentation I've ever heard.
Thank you, man.
All right,
so
guys. Sorry.
just real quick, we'll show the rest of these things, right? We don't have a ton of time left. We'll show how we do annual financial reviews, how important it is to them, how we manage the client's mortgage and how it helps them make good decisions, maximizing wealth through real estate, and then relocation services. People lose their mind when they see how we help people move from one home to the next. And then we talk about how we can help them with the trade up program, which is an all cash purchase offer, and then pre-sales renovation, which is helping them renovate their home prior to selling it. So I can get through this whole presentation in an hour, maybe an hour and 10, but I'm moving pretty well the whole time. At this point, at the end of the meeting, I'm going to say, Mark, so what are your thoughts? What's your feedback? What are you thinking? More often than not, we're going to get overwhelmingly positive feedback. And then from there, I say, look, this meeting was really just to help you understand more about who we are. If you're interested in exploring what a partnership may look like, and I don't want to take business from your other lender if you have a good relationship, but I hope you can see all the ways in which this will help you and your team. If you're interested in learning more about what that partnership looks like, I'd recommend we schedule the next meeting, which we call a business partnership planning meeting. And in that meeting, we're going to get very specific on expectations, how we pre-approve clients, timelines and pre-approvals, our cadence and how we follow up with your leads, how we become kind of a catch-all for all of your business. That way you're never, no leads are slipping through the cracks. What we do from a marketing and branding perspective, how we help you with your listings and open houses. So this is more of just a learn about us meeting. The next one, if you're open to it, would be more about the logistics of how we work day in and day out as partners. And then
Unbelievable, man.
99 times out of 100,
stop
you're
sharing
gonna,
your screen, right?
yeah, 99 times out of 100, you're gonna get a, yeah, let's schedule that next meeting. Pull your phone out right there. Don't say, okay, I'll follow up with you. Have them pull their calendar out. You pull your calendar out, put it on the calendar, and that next meeting will be set. And then you go through the business partnership planning meeting, which is a separate outline.
Okay, guys, how many of you feel more equipped and a lot more inferior than you did at the beginning of the call? Right? Like, that is a lot, right? And what I want to reassure you all of is I hope you walk away from here with a confidence and a little bit of a different angle on how you're going to present to the realtor. I also want to encourage you that you can get from where you're at to having presentations like this much faster than you think if you are determined to implement. And we would love to help you get to that point. And I will tell you quite candidly, I'm not there. Some of the stuff that Ryan has talked about, I've implemented. I've taken it out in chunks. I talk about, maybe 3 of the 8 things. And I don't have that same cadence with my realtor. But what I have started doing, and I was coaching with Sonny privately and told him, like, taking that bulletproof buyer presentation and telling them exactly how we present, you all can do that right now, all by yourselves, saying to a realtor, hey, I want to meet with you to just, 1, tell you about this unfair advantage that is getting us a ton of offers accepted. And number 2, to tell you what the client experience is like with us. None of your competition is doing it. So if you just implemented this one thing, right, and you had more of an actual presentation that adds value to that realtor's life, you're going to be more effective. So I realize we're all a little overwhelmed because Ryan is such a machine and he has implemented so many things, and it is insane value proposition compared to what a lot of us are offering. But our hope and our wish and our goal for you is to help you chunk this down, make it extremely palatable to implement one at a time, so that all of us in the tribe are leveling one another up, and we're having presentations like this that are much more impactful. We need to add. Go ahead, Ryan.
Grady asked a question here. It says, in my experience, realtors only give 5 to 15 minutes to their teams. How do you schedule the longer sessions with the entire team? So, Grady, you can do this presentation in 5 minutes. I know it seems nearly impossible, but you literally just touch on the 3 things, which is, so I'd say, Grady, I know you only have 5 minutes. I appreciate the opportunity to chat with you. My goal is to help you understand how we're going to help you grow your business, how we're going to help you convert more of your clients, and how we're going to enhance your client experience and your brand. These are some of the key areas in which we do it in. I think it would be really worth your time to spend, an hour with me so I can show it to you, and then we can walk your team through it and go everything else. But, again, I'm not trying to be everything to everyone. There's a reason you and I are talking right now. And it's because once you see what we are and what we do, you'll realize we can't do this for every realtor in the marketplace. Right? We just can't be partners with everybody because of the dedication to excellence that we have. And so I'd love to show it to you. When's a good time? Let's schedule it. You have to be so confident in what you do that you fundamentally believe if that realtor doesn't work with you, they're going to be less successful and lose money. And if you have that belief, it'll come out in what you say.
And like Ryan, I've been borrowing from your belief, for a while, but now that I've implemented a lot of this stuff, how can you not believe if you're providing this experience that Ryan just went through, and you know that what experience you're providing right now, how can you not believe that it's way better for the client and for that realtor, right? And what I love about Ryan is he is so, like, his number one fear is that he doesn't deliver on the things that he says he's going to deliver on. And it's so admirable, because so many of us, how many of us got crushed during COVID and we have not prospected, right? Ryan's like client experiences is non-negotiable. His promise to the realtor is non-negotiable. And so if you're really implementing those things, there's no way you can't believe it. Chris, I know you've been really quiet, man. Any parting thoughts here over the last minute, or Krista, anybody else that wants to jump in here?
You know what? There's another question for Ryan that I want him to be able to answer. It's more logistic. I chatted it to you, Ryan, but it's, people are wondering if they could get the exact flow chart of client meetings for buyers and the slides to share the data, and then the similar flow for agent meetings. And I know we're sending that stuff out, but the second 2 presentations, I believe, are web-based. So it's not like a copy and put your own branding on it and send it out.
So there's two presentations that are kind of like PowerPoints. There's the beautiful.ai one, which is our client presentation. Then there's the bulletproof buyer, which is a PowerPoint presentation. The rest of them I have up as actual websites, right? So I'll click through the websites because I need to be able to go through them. And it's a combination of art of home ownership, the concierge, the home bot, updater. And so we can kind of write that out. And I don't know, I think we may have already done that. But we'll write it out, and then I literally have all these tabs open on my computer all the time. And so I just do this over and over and over again.
Awesome, man. Well, again, I just want to point out your abundance, Ryan, both with your time, all of your materials, which, I think 90% of the industry would keep top secret. The fact that you're so willing to share with so many of us is great. And I just want to express my gratitude on behalf of all of us here at Tribe for sharing with us and trying to make us better. Guys, I know that was a lot for an hour. The Q&A that's coming up on Thursday, if you need help implementing, bring those. Ryan will have all this stuff up and ready if we need to continue, and that's what the group wants to do. That's what we'll do. if any of you are having issues in your business and we need a coach on the fly, or your personal life, and we need a coach on the fly, we'll handle that. So I'm looking forward to seeing you all next Thursday. One parting favor for me is, you know, it's great to see people like Sonny, whom I love, David Wright, Megan, so many of you on the call. You guys, if there are people that belong in the tribe, would you please just make an email introduction to me? Like, I think the more people that are contributing, that are like-minded, it's going to help us all raise our game. And Ryan was a great example of that today. So please make the intro. I really want this community to continue to grow. I've got FOMO over other communities that I just saw in Las Vegas that are really sticky and have a great cohesiveness. And I really want us to aspire to be that as well. So thanks for co-creating with us. I hope you guys have a great week, and I'm looking forward to seeing you all on Thursday. I hope you got a tremendous amount of value from today. All right. See you guys.
Bye all.
Cheers.
Thank you.